Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to my channel. My name is Joanna. If this is your first time being here, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. And I want you to pat yourself on the back. Why? Because it takes courage to do what you do. And what you are doing is you are seeking to realize yourself. And to realize yourself is to have the courage to know who you really are. And that's a journey. It's often a very, very long journey that takes lifetimes. So um, since you're here and you are on the path of self-realization, I hope that the information that I have to share with you is going to help you do just that, to help you self-realize. It is meant to be empowering. It is meant to be expanding. It is meant to be thought-provoking. Because oftentimes when we ask the right questions, we get the right answers. And sometimes we don't even know what we should be asking for. So this information is hopefully going to give you more clarity. If you find this information helpful, I would love for you to share this with somebody. At the end of the day, my work is really to help, um, um, how do I say this? To, uh, uh, to help more peace into this world, I guess, in my own small way. How? By sharing with people information that will ultimately help them experience a lot more peace. And the more peace we have within ourselves, the more peace we will have in the world. So thank you so much for that. For those of you who are returning, again, without you, I wouldn't do this. I love what I do, even though sometimes I experience a lot of resistance to it. Apparently, I have been killed quite a few times for um, um, uh, speaking this information. So there is a resistance that often kicks in before I do these channeling sessions. But when I finally get to do them, I love what I do. So thank you so much for being part of me doing what I love to do. I am recording this on December 12th, which is the 12/12 portal. And the information that came to me is that this portal is very effective in helping us release a lot of self-doubt or inner conflict. So if you are watching this, and you are, I suspect you have some conflict within you because you're a human being. We are very conflicted creatures. And you probably have some self-doubt. And this information or this portal is going to help you experience less doubt so that you can realize more of your potential. So if you are willing to do the work, if you are willing to look at certain things, belief systems, this portal, this energy of this portal will greatly enhance this process for you. So you are much more likely to experience permanent changes if you put the work into it right now. So the analogy is whatever you sow, you will see the growth of it in a very near future. I wrote the end of inner battle and going to the heart. So the whole idea of Christ consciousness, in my understanding, is to basically live from the heart. And humans, a lot of them, I would say mostly, live in their heads. And head is where a lot of the conflict is. Heart is just pure. So when we spend our lives living predominantly from our head, we also don't have as much access to higher vibrational information. And that's because the programming of the mind is very rigid and it's a construct. It has edges. It's a box. And so we live in boxes. Each person lives in his or her own boxes. And although boxes are good, very useful, boxes are also limiting. And we are apparently starting to step out of our own boxes. And when we step out of our own boxes, we experience things outside of the box. And when we see things outside of the box, we see a lot more. So humanity's moving into a higher level of consciousness, which is all about realizing our potential, our human potential. And the higher we rise in consciousness, if you will, the less conflicted we are. Because the higher we are in consciousness, the closer we are to the truth of what is. And according to what I know, the truth of all is that God is everything. It's you and I, your neighbor, your cat, your dog, your tree. There is nothing other than God. Some call it Buddha, some call it source, some call it higher consciousness. Name is irrelevant. So the higher we are in a level of consciousness, the less restricted we also are. And when we are less restricted within ourselves, we can accomplish so much more. So coming out of the boxes is a good idea, but it is also very uncomfortable because, well, boxes are safe, they're stable, they're secure, and coming out of the box feels a little strange at first. What do I mean when I say coming out of the box? What do I mean by that? To come out of a box is to see yourself beyond the box that you have created for yourself, because we create our own boxes, and we could have a discussion on that, but we, according to my source, create our own boxes. We don't do it consciously. We create our own boxes through our own experiences, through programming, all that kind of stuff. And programming, there's nothing wrong with programming. Programs are good, but if we have limiting programming, we will limit ourselves. So to move into a higher level of consciousness is to realize that there is more and we are more than the belief systems that we are holding on to, especially the limiting ones. So we are in the process of learning or remembering that we are so much more, that we are so much more. So what does that mean in practical terms? When you know that you are so much more, then you can create more for yourself. You can create more of anything, more of good. On the other hand, if we are too much in our restricted mind, we don't even know that we can create something more as we are in our boxes. So the whole process of raising human consciousness is really about realizing our potential to the fullest. And the higher we vibrate, if I can use that analogy, the closer we are to, I want to say, the essence of God. It's not that we are not close now in 3D. It's vibrationally speaking, we are not as close, if you will, as we could be. And the further away we are from source, which is love, the more we live in fear. So to say it differently, to experience and feel more love and less fear, it's almost like we have to shift our consciousness. So we are in the process of shifting consciousness on a massive scale. So today I have 3 piles, and I basically said, okay, tell me what they need to know. So each pile is going to have certain information that you may or may not be aligned with, but chances are if you're drawn to this, if you're seeking this, then there is something in each pile for you, maybe even in all the piles. So listen with an open mind, with an open heart. Don't take anything as truth. Just kind of go, interesting, and see how it resonates with you. It may resonate with you now, or it may not resonate with you now. It may resonate with you at some point later. So let's start with piles. Pile number 1. What is your path right now? Complete surrender and feminine principle. Okay. So obviously, complete surrender has to do a lot with control. Okay. Control is a really big thing. It is massive. And my understanding is that most human beings have fears around control. What kind of fears? Not having enough control, being overpowered, too controlling, not enough controlling, just the whole idea of control. And when we have issues around control, it almost always goes to the space of safety. So, in other words, if we knew, or if you knew that you were completely safe, if you knew that, if you felt safety, your need to control would be much less. You would still have the ability to control, but you wouldn't feel as much need to control. In other words, the higher need you have to control, the more likely it is that you feel not safe inside your own skin. Now, you might be living, and I hope that's not the case, but you might be living in a place right now where there's war going on. You're going to have a lot of fear that there is, because safety is being, it's being uprooted. So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking just if you're having a normal life, but you're always not feeling safe and secure inside of yourself, then you are likely going to have a lot more need to control. So pile number 1, would you say that you are someone who is either too controlling or feels like don't have enough control? And there's somewhere nice to be in the middle. It's just like you don't want too much pepper and steak on your steak if you're into eating steaks, because it wouldn't be palatable. On the other hand, if there was bland, probably wouldn't be as palatable. So you want a little bit. You want to have some control, but you also want to be able to let go. So pile number 1, I feel like this is very much about you and your own issues, if you will, around the idea of control. Generally speaking, not always, but generally speaking, if you tell someone that they're controlling, they're going to protest, because no one wants to see themselves as a controlling person. But controlling isn't bad. There's nothing wrong with controlling. It's just that when there is too much control, then, or need for control, then it really implies that we live in a space of stress. And when you live in a space of stress all the time, you're going to feel a lot more fearful. You're not going to feel as peaceful, right? So there is some underlying message here around either you need to control or you need to take back control because you gave it up at some point. Okay. So for pile number one, control issues, if you will, is your theme right now. It's what you're, I'm going to put it this way. It's what you're here to resolve or address at this time. You don't have to. And of course, if it doesn't apply to you, it doesn't apply to you. But this resonates with you. This is something that would be good for you to work through. Because not only does life get easier when you let go of control or take some control back, life just gets better because you're not in a space of constant inner tension, right? You're much more relaxed person. And when you're more relaxed, you have a higher access to higher wisdom or greater access to higher wisdom. When you are living in stress primarily, that's very fear-based. It's going to be very hard for you to access wisdom because those are very different vibrations, right? So, letting go of control, if you are too controlling, is actually going to make your life easier, but you have to deal with the root of why you control or why you give up control. You have to deal with the root. So the 1212 portal, I feel, is going to be very supportive of you looking at the root causes of your need to control or not having control. Okay. So we don't want to be in polarities. We want to be somewhere in the middle, right? So that's first message. The second message represents your opportunities. Dark night of the soul. Life brings new meaning. It's letting go of fears, which means looking at the shadow. Shadow work is very prominent right now. And that's because it is our shadows that we are mostly afraid of. But when we begin to look at our shadows, face our shadows, understand our shadows, not only can we stop the fight inside, but we can have a different relationship with our shadows whereby your shadow becomes your ally, not your enemy. So that you can use your fear, if you will, for a different purpose by shifting your relationship with it. So if control is a thing for you, you have a certain relationship with control. There's a reason for it. And it would be very good, it would behoove you to face this fear now. Okay. Now, you probably have heard of the dark night of the soul. It's basically where you shed aspects of your identity. When something you have identified with for a very long time begins to disintegrate, I'm going to say, begins to change, shift. And during that time, you will feel, or you might feel, that you don't know who you are. You don't know yourself. You're questioning your very identity. And that is scary for most people because your identity gives you structure. You can rely on structure. So when part of your identity dies, if you will, part of your structure, which is something you've always depended on, begins to die too. And we like structure. Structures feel safe. So during the process of Dark Night of the Soul, oftentimes we tend to feel temporarily less safe, even less safe than before. And that's because we're in this space of unknown. We are no longer the person we used to be. We're not quite sure who we are becoming. Okay? But it is the perfect moment where you can choose and decide who you choose to become. Not who you are supposed to become, but who you choose to become. So if you choose to become a less controlling person, first choose, first look at the underlying reasons why you have issues with control. And that's going to essentially be you looking at your shadows. So a lot of healing is possible right now, and tremendous level of expansion by you facing your shadows. Okay? There are very effective ways of facing your shadows. In fact, that is all that I do with my clients. All the channeling I do is all to help people release their shadows. Okay? So there is there's many techniques, safe techniques, working with shadows. Can you work with shadows on your own? Yes, to a certain level you can. But at a certain point, you'll reach a space where you won't have you. At a certain point, you need someone to help you because your shadows are often unconscious. So if it's unconscious, you don't even know you have them. So obviously, you can't address something you don't know exists. So you can, yes, you can work with your shadows to a degree, but at a certain point, it feels like we need a helping hand to help us face an even deeper layers, because this right now it's healing deep layers, deep ancestral layers. So perhaps there are some issues of control in your ancestral line. So that's the opportunity for you right now. It's an opportunity to heal tremendously by facing your shadows. Healing opportunities rise again. What I hear is be reborn. Be reborn. In order to be reborn, you first have to die. It's not a physical death, it's the metaphorical death where you transform into someone new. But you're not transforming into someone new. You're actually transforming to the being you've always been, only you have forgotten because you came into this world and there was a certain program instilled in you. I just look at the clock, it's 11:11. And based on what you've learned and what you understood yourself, you begin to identify with that. Nothing wrong with that, but part of your identification are limiting belief systems. And the more you limit yourself, the less likely you are to create an amazingly powerful and a bountiful life for yourself because you are going to hold yourself back. So if you have issues around control, those fears, because control issues are usually fear-based, those fears are holding you back. So by releasing control, you will automatically allow yourself to be more. You will automatically allow yourself to be more. Now, that's a little bit scary because if you've always seen yourself one way and all of a sudden now you're ready to become more, it's a very funky place to be because it's unknown. It's unknown, but it's much more open. So you are opening up to possibilities right now. And it, there's this moon, I think, or sun behind her. I don't know which one it is. She has she has lotus flowers, Egyptian lotus flowers in her hair. I believe that's what they are, which represents rebirth. You have rebirth, you have dark night of the soul, and you have complete surrender. If this doesn't say change, I don't know what does, but it's a positive change. In fact, it's the kind of change you've been asking for. And now you're at this space where that change is very much possible for you, but you need to face yourself. We all do. We all do. Now, remember, I said at the very beginning, pat yourself on the back because it takes courage to self-realize. And to self-realize literally means letting go of the attachments we have to our identity, right? So that's what I have for you, pile number one. Okay, let's see what we have for you, pile number two. Your path is belief systems. Okay. So pile number one was about a specific belief system. This just talks about belief systems. I'm going to say it even though I'm being redundant. You are at the end of a cycle, but we all are. Okay. So, and each cycle will present themselves differently to each person, but you are at the end of a cycle. Because you are at the end of a cycle, you have a tremendous opportunity to release old, outdated belief systems, such as, I'm not good enough. No one will ever love me. I am not supposed to show myself. I can't amount to anything. I just heard, I don't like being told what to do. Okay. All right. I'm not sure what that's about, but if you don't like being told what to do, keep listening. I think most people don't like being told what to do, but we're always told what to do. We either are told what to do or we tell ourselves what to do. So if you are hearing this and some of the specific belief systems resonated with you, particularly the one of not being enough, not being worthy, this is a belief system that you have that is not only yours, but it's also your ancestors. So if you are watching this, chances are that you are healing on an ancestral level, that you are healing ancestral lines. I heard somewhere that we can clear 7 ancestral lines going back and going forward. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I can't prove it. But to me, healing ancestral lines means not only are you, it's not like you're erasing karma, it's you are collapsing karma. You're collapsing timelines. By doing your healing work in this lifetime, you are collapsing timelines, which means those who have come before you don't have to deal with the same karma again. And those who will come after you will not have to deal with the same karma again. So you are in a space where you are able to close karmic doors. And as they say, leave the past behind. Now, leaving the past behind means many things to many people. To me, leaving the past behind means simply this: to no longer have my past dictate my now and my future. Why would that be important? Because if my past dictates my life, then I'm not in charge of my own life. My past is. And if I don't like certain things in my past and that creates my future, then I'm a slave to my past. I don't want that. Why? Because we have pain, we have trauma, we have disappointments. All of those are in our past. But here's the thing, they're not in our past. They're in our now, because past doesn't exist. They're not in our past, they're in us now. So when I say that this is a great time to release your past, what I'm really saying it's a really good time to know yourself, to see yourself, and to become more conscious of your own programming. Because when you become conscious of your programming, you can choose a different program. When you're conscious of your program, which are mostly unconscious, you can choose a different program. How? By choosing it. Simply by choosing it. Let's say you have a program, I'm not good enough. Well, let's say you erase that program. What do you want instead? You want to feel good enough? Okay. Start accepting that you are good enough. Literally, start accepting that you are good enough. Well, how can I do that? Simply choose and decide. Decide. Now, there will be a part of you that will be very opposing to you saying all of a sudden, I'm good enough, because you've always identified as not good enough. So, which will it be? Which will you choose? But you can't choose unless you know there is a choice to be had. And unless you are aware, you don't know you have that choice. So, this is all about awareness, being aware of your programming, especially the limiting programming. And for one, it's removing a certain dialogue you have with yourself. Things like, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, no one will ever want me. Addressing the negative thinking patterns and choosing to think in more positive ways. Now, it's easy, isn't it? It's just we choose to think positive, but it's not that easy. Why? Because we are used to thinking in different ways through our programming. So we all need a refresher. You know how you have to refresh the screen because it's not running properly? We all need refresher right now. In fact, we are in a process of refreshing our programs because they're glitchy and they're not working anymore. But that doesn't happen without first looking at yourself. So, as I said earlier, my job is all about helping you face yourself so that you can reach your potential. So naturally, beliefs, certain negative limiting belief systems will come up as a point of discussion. And sometimes, not sometimes, more often than not, we have negative or limiting belief systems without even knowing we have them because they're so deeply ingrained. So, pile number two, it's about addressing your limiting, deeply held limiting belief systems. We all have them. We all have them. There's nothing wrong with that. But as long as we keep clinging to that belief, we're going to experience the result of that. Okay? If you keep saying something that you can't, you won't because you've just decided you can't. You're that powerful. So our this look how powerful you are. You hold, I do too, limiting belief systems. You are so powerful that you limit yourself. You're so powerful that you limit yourself. Right? We do it all the time. We just don't think about it. But we limit ourselves based on our belief system. So the moment we shift our belief system, we're going to limit ourselves less. Pile number two. First of all, I'm going to ask you a question, provocative question. Do you want to limit yourself less? Do you want to be less limiting? If the answer is yes, perfect. If you say no, that's okay too. But I would ask the question, why would you choose to limit yourself? What's in it for you? And I'm sure there is something in it for you. So if you choose to feel less limited, start seeing yourself first and foremost as a whole person, not a person that needs to do this, or that in order to be loved. That you are simply enough as you are. Does that mean that you don't have any limitations because you're a physical being, that there are some things that you do better or not? No, it doesn't mean that, but just that's part of your experience. But it does not mean that you are not good enough. You are absolutely more than good enough for what you're here to do. It's that simple. Everything else is a belief system. I'm seeing an image of someone being on a hook. Are you on the hook for something? Are you on the hook for something? Or does someone have you on the hook? And that's probably mental or emotional hook. I don't know what this means exactly, but that was just placed there. So if this makes sense to you, just comment on down below. I would be curious. So, what are the opportunities awaiting you? Love and light, act with care. And the second one is meditation improvements require persistence. Okay. So, first and foremost, you are a being having a human experience. Okay. You are not just a human, you are having a human experience. And I believe being on this channel, that's probably, you know that. Okay. You may not embody it, you may not be sold on it, but you believe there is something more to you than your human body. Okay. Um, you and I and everything comes from pure love. In other words, your essence is pure love. There's nothing else. Okay. Your essence is pure love. If you saw yourself as pure love, how do you think your life would go? Just think about that for a moment. If you saw yourself as pure love, how do you think your life would go? My brain is saying, well, that's almost impossible. No, no. Is it impossible? It's probably challenging, but is it impossible? I've learned that nothing is impossible. The moment I say it's impossible, I get bit in my back. In fact, when you see yourself as pure love, nothing is impossible. Because when you see yourself as pure love, you see yourself as the essence of God or source or whatever name you want to call it. And that something, that source is very powerful. So when you see yourself as love, which is source, and when you see yourself as source, you see yourself as a very powerful being. So your homework, pile number 2, is for you to start seeing yourself as pure love. And just imagine what that would look like. What would that, if you saw yourself as pure love, what would that look like? I, as Joanna, have no idea. I haven't tried it before. But that's a good exercise I'm going to do. First and foremost, what it does mean is you see yourself with no judgments. Aha, the big word, judgments. When you think of yourself as love, you don't see yourself through the eyes of judgments. You just see yourself as love. Love has no judgments. When you see yourself as love, you don't judge. So that's one of the ways, that's what happens when we see ourselves as love. So, to put it in a different way, in order for you to see yourself as love, start practicing being less judgmental. Start judging less and see what happens. Start judging yourself less, start judging other people less. Be less judgmental. We all know what that means. Let's just not beat around the bush. We're all judgmental in some way, shape, or form, some more than others. I'm guilty of it myself. I'm not going to hide it. What's the point? It's part of our fabric. That doesn't mean that I can't learn to judge less. In fact, that has been my thing, to learn how to judge less. Because when I judge less, I'm all more in my heart, not in my head, because that's where judgments come from. So start seeing yourself as love. The next message was, what was the next message? Was there another one? I swore there was another one. What happened to it? That's really odd. That is so odd. What happened to the card? This is crazy. Where'd it go? Literally, it disappeared on me. Oh my God, it disappeared on me. Oh, did it disappear? No. No, sorry, it didn't. I'm losing it. Meditation. Improvements require persistence. You're too much in your head. Aren't we all? That's okay. Nothing wrong with it. But when you're in your head, as much as you apparently are, you are in your thinking box. When you are too much in your thinking box, you don't have as much of an access to higher awareness. It's not that you don't have access. Your thinking box will stop you, limit you from accessing this higher wisdom. And wisdom is also what I'm being asked to say heart-based. It's more heart-based. Wisdom is more heart-based. So one of the ways to deal with a busy mind is nothing better than meditation. Meditation can be many things. It can be a walk in the park. It can be you doing some crafts and then just getting completely lost in it and in a moment. It could be a traditional form of meditation. It could be breath work. Meditation is so many different things. What meditation does, it allows you to be more in tune with yourself, to be more present, to be more to be more in your body, to be more grounded, so that you are not all over the place. And that allows you to pull all the energy from everywhere back to you, back to you, back to your essence. And this is what helps you align to source. It's not that you're not aligned, it's that your alignment is not as strong as it could be because you're too much in your head. So obviously, my neighbor's playing music. I'm sorry if it's too loud. Obviously, the message is quite simple. To get out of your head, you need to find a way to quiet your mind. When you quiet your mind, is where wisdom will come through a lot more, a lot more. Okay. It's when you'll have access to higher information. It's where you'll have access. Well, you'll have access to source. It's not that you don't have access right now. It's just that your mind prevents you from it. So I almost want to say, I implore you to find some ways of quieting your mind, because apparently you have a big decision to make in a very short future. I'm seeing 2 to 3 months. And you want to make that choice from a space of wisdom versus from a place of fear. And when we are overthinking, a lot of that is fear-based. Okay. Safety is your number one concern. So is everyone's. But there are some issues around safety. Perhaps you don't feel safe in your body. Perhaps you never learned how to feel safe. Perhaps you don't feel safe feeling safe. Safety. There's something about safety here. And there's an opportunity, just like in pile number one, there's an opportunity for you to effectively deal with this issue of unsafety, and it's connected to your programming so that you can finally let it go. But that will not come without you tuning within. So you are being asked to tune within a lot more often. Okay. To have some practices where you are on regular basis tuning in and accessing this higher wisdom, because whatever that is, whatever the I want to say move. So for some of you, it actually might be moving places, houses, homes, moving to different states, moving across the country. There is a move, not for everybody, but there's a move. And you want to make sure it's an opportunity. For many of you, it's going to be an opportunity that's going to present itself. Some of you already have a feeling that you'd like to move or are going to move. So there is some move that's happening for you. And you want to make sure you make this move, you grab this opportunity from the right space. Okay. You want to trust yourself. You want to trust yourself. And you want to trust yourself that you will make the right decision. Um, I know that you won't make the wrong decision knowing it's the wrong decision. And if you do make a wrong decision knowing then it's a wrong decision, I'm going to say, just so you know, you're going to get bitten in your ass. But that makes sense, right? So unless you know that you're making the wrong decision, chances are that you're also making the right decision. At the end of the day, you never really know. You have to take a chance. And to take a chance means to take a risk. So you are likely to take a risk or a chance on something brand new for many of you. Okay. For some of you, it's you stepping into your authority. It's stepping into your inner authority. And for some of you, that's really scary. It's really scary to be seen as someone in authority. Okay. So if this is one of your things, if you have issues around being seen as an authority, belief systems. Okay. So number one priority for you, like it is for everybody, is to look at your deeply held belief systems that are limiting you, perhaps from fully stepping into a leader role. Okay. So that's what I have for you, pile number 2. All right, let's see what we have for you, pile number 3. What is your path? Ooh, open contact. So one of the first things that's coming at me is you're likely someone who either identifies as a channel or is an open channel. Always remember this, I'm supposed to say. We are all channelers. We all channel energy all the time. We don't think about it. We don't know we're doing it. We're channeling energy all the time. We all have access to higher wisdom and higher information. We all have access to higher information. In other words, every single one of you has an open line to God, source, universe, whatever you want to call it. Every one of you has that. Every one of us has it. Not everyone believes it. Not everyone trusts it. Not everyone trusts themselves. That's programming and belief systems. So pile number 3, you are a direct channel to source, which means you can effectively communicate with source, God, goddesses, deities, ascended master, whatever you want. Aliens, if you want to. I don't like that name. Extraterrestrials. But you specifically, pile number 3, you're natural at this. This is it's natural. Okay. Now, you might have suppressed it when you were young. You might have always known it, but never talked about it. And I feel like it's coming up to the surface and it wants to be expressed. Now, if you've always had a feeling that you were connected and you've suppressed it, coming out with it now is potentially very scary. Okay. Because there's so much rides on it. Because it may be seen as weird, it may be seen as demonic to some people based on their belief system. It may be seen and judged and abandoned because of it. So there are some fears that are going to come up for you, pile number 3, very likely, that has to do with you being a channel, you having connection and coming out with it. Maybe out to your friends and the public, or maybe to yourself. So my job for you, pile number 3, is to emphatically confirm to you or affirm to you that you have direct line to source and other beings, and you're very good at it. You don't believe in it quite yet, which is fine. That can be worked through. It takes time, it takes practice. I still doubt if what I do is something that I made up but I've got the best I can do is go on feedback, and whatever I channel seems to help people change their life for the better. So that's the best thing I have to go on. And it feels really good when I channel it. So any fears around channeling, being a psychic, being called a psychic, being called an intuitive healer, being called anything of that nature probably scares you. But remember, this portal is about you overcoming self-doubt. Now, does that mean that you have to now go and have a YouTube channel and talk about it publicly? No, it doesn't mean that unless that's what you want. But here's the thing. Chances are, if you have this access, and it looks like you do, and you're good at it, then that means you have the opportunity to access information that will be beneficial to bring to people who don't feel like they have this access. Much like what I'm doing. All I'm doing is I'm just the middle girl. I am just a translator. Okay. Many of you were born with this gift. Some of you, it's coming online right now. And I feel like it's coming online for a lot of people because we are shifting vibration. And the more we shed our density, the more we remember who we are. And the more we remember who we are, remember, is when we begin to remember our power. So you are opening up to more of your natural abilities and your natural power. And that can be scary. That can be a little bit scary. For one, it's a big responsibility when you have something powerful that at your disposal. You want to be responsible with it. And it's just chances are you were probably killed for doing this kind of work in other lifetimes, like I have. For many of you, you will have take care. Bye-bye. Choking sensations or blockages in your throat chakra. So many of you have probably lost your head. And some of you were brutally murdered for doing devil's work. Okay, so you might have been born into religion that says that if you channel something, you're talking to the devil. Well, according to their belief, yes, but you know, and maybe genuinely you are afraid that you are going to talk to some negative. Here's what I can tell you. The best assurance you have that you don't talk to quote unquote negative beings is to make sure that your own frequency is really, 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 really high to be in the heart. So the less fears you have, the more you are in your heart vibration. The more you are in your heart vibration, the less chances are that you will affect or attract let's call a negative frequency. Okay. On the other hand, if you do, you're going to know it, you're going to feel it, and you're just going to put a stop to that. Remember, you are in charge. You are in charge. Doesn't matter what you or who you communicate with, you are in charge. You're supposed to remember that. You are the boss. You dictate how this goes. If there's any entity or being that's insisting on working with you or else, likely not a very high vibration. If you have someone or something telling you that if you don't this is going to, if it feels somehow restrictive, cut it out. My experience is that working with high vibrational beings, for one, they're almost removed from feelings. It's not that they don't have feelings, it's the level of love is so much bigger than what we're used to, and it's just a solid, stable foundation. There is no emotional volatility. So if you have a highly charged being that tells you a lot of dark and negative stuff, yeah, chances are you want to cut it off. Unless you're into that sort of thing, which, by the way, I'm not judging. That's up to you. So what I'm saying here is you can equally connect with higher beings or lower beings. That's up to you. That's the power you have, but you have that power. They don't, you do. You have that power. Some of you feel like this channeling is either demonic work or somebody has said to you that that's demonic work. I guess that's why you were killed in other lifetimes, and that's why witches, which were basically healers, were burnt at the stake. Okay. So there's a chance in this lifetime for you to prove to yourself how powerful you are without getting killed for it. Okay, so there might be some fears that will come up for you in terms of expressing or connecting to higher beings and expressing it. Like whatever you have access to wants to express itself. Okay. What are the opportunities for you right now? Clear and activate, create sacred space. So this being right here is fully open to communication. See, fully open. His heart, I believe it's him, his heart is open. There's no restrictions. There's no restrictions. In other words, this person is having an open communication and contact with higher beings. This is you. File number 3. This is you. I want you to really look at it. This is you. Okay. Fully open, but protected. And there is trust in that. I'm looking at his eyes. There is trust. The eyes are closed. There is trust. Okay. If you don't trust the source that's communicating with you, then either learn to build your trust with it, or maybe it's not for you. If you don't trust the source, if there is something off, then it's not right for you, because this is representing a lot of trust. And in order also to be open like this, you have to have trust. So trust is a big thing for you in pile number 3. Trusting your abilities to connect, trusting that the universe has your back, trusting that you're not going to do something bad, trusting. And if you got killed in a different lifetime for being an open channel, for being this open, then you will naturally have reservations in your DNA. Okay. So I feel like pile number 3, this is about you opening up to being a more fully open and trusting channel. Again, what you do with it, that's up to you. But chances are when you open up, again, you are receiving potentially information that can help humanity. And you will naturally want to express that in some way, shape, or form. Doesn't mean that you have to, be in front of hundreds of people. No, it could just be, everyday life that you just happen to say the right thing. And the person says, how did you know that's exactly what I wanted to hear? Done. Because it just came to you. So pile 3, it's cultivating trust in yourself that you have this ability, and also cultivating more trust in this relationship, because this person has a relationship with whatever he is open to. Okay. So primarily trusting yourself that you're going to be okay when you're fully open to this channel. Incidentally, that's part of my thing, because I had issues from other lifetimes where I was taken out, not in a nice way. Okay. So I not naturally have deeply seated fears around being open. Okay. Plus it's responsibility. Okay. Last but not least, your healing opportunities. Harvest the honey. So what I want to say is that fall is somehow indicative of change for you, whichever part of the world you are, whenever your fall is next time. Well, it's now. Okay, so we're in fall right now until December 21st. But it could also mean next fall. So between now and October of next year is what I'm seeing. Expect some huge positive changes. Huge positive changes. She's being supported here. She's glowing, or she's being supported. To me, this is also symbolizing a lot of a root chakra work and a lot of solar plexus work. Okay, because sunflowers to me symbolize the solar plexus. It's also about your confidence. You're in a process of growing your confidence or growing into a more confident person. So that being coupled with you being in open contact, you're unstoppable. You're unstoppable, baby. You need a little bit more of confidence. Confidence, trust, all of those things go hand in hand. By the way, you're not required to do any of this. You're not required to do any of this. You don't have to. Here's the thing. Your soul wants to. Your soul wants to express itself this way, and you're going to feel more and more. If you don't allow this natural flow to move through you, you're naturally going to experience more and more resistance, which can at certain times manifest itself as anxiety because you're just like you're holding a lot. I'm holding my heart, but it's also in your stomach. You're holding. And it's like you're going to be moving forward, but you're going to be resisting. So um, fall is somehow important between fall now and October of 2025. Lots of big positive changes. And I see you coming out of your box. You're finally being seen. Wow. Okay, that's beautiful. Now this person is being seen. It's all about you being seen, pile number three. And if you're not used to being seen, if you're used to being in a small box and hiding yourself, that first being seen is it's a little bit uncomfortable. It's very normal. It's very normal. It's, it's very normal. Confidence grows with practice. So also don't be so hard on yourself. Don't seek perfectionism. And I feel like I'm talking to myself here. Um, the the best way to ensure that you do this work in the right way is to keep addressing your shadows. It's all about shadow work. Keep addressing your shadows because the less shadows you have, the more shadows you integrate, the more you will be trusting and open to what you are naturally good at. Pretty straightforward. So that's what I have for you, pile number three. I hope this was helpful. Please let me know how this resonates with you. Actually, I like the energy flow. It was kind of like bang, bang, bang. And let me know how I can support you. Of course, if you're ever wanting to work with me and my team to help you work or integrate your shadows so that you can realize yourself, you can reach me. That information is down below, and I would be more than honored to be part of your unfolding journey because I just love what I do. I love seeing people realizing that they are so much more than what they have been telling themselves, albeit unconsciously. And that's my hope for you is that you start to see yourself much more fully so that you can realize yourself more fully. That's what I want. That's what we all want at the end of the day. So, with that said, thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you next week. Have yourself a wonderful evening, weekend, day, whenever you watch it, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye bye.